Today, we're looking at a brown ink by Callifolio Yalumba. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, there's timestamps down below so you can skip around to the part you're most interested in. Or, if you've got the time, I'd appreciate you checking out the entire video. You could also follow me on Instagram, and if you like fountain pen ink reviews, I would invite you to subscribe. In order to make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I then put the ink into this Nimacine Fission with a broad nib to write for a day and to take my notes for this video. In order to have some standardization in my writing samples, I always use Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. Now, let's look at the writing sample. I picked this ink up in sample form, so it came in a vial like this. And to keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairfontaine. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen. It does offer some shading. I'm going to go ahead and go right here with this. I know yesterday we looked at KWZ's Iron Gall Orange and looked very brown, and here we're looking at an ink that's supposed to be brown and it looks very orangey red. It's color corrected. I don't know. The extra fine is a bit lighter than the stub with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, a very nice shading throughout, 7 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine, maybe just a hair darker. No feather, spread, halo, sheen, great shading, truly fantastic. 10 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us some color variation, nowhere near as much as we're getting in the writing. Tomoe River. No bleeding, normal Tomoe River ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. It does offer some shading just because you can see much lighter letters than some others, so it's definitely there. It's just not quite as obvious, but the dark letters are super stand out. The extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, very nice peppering of shading all over it, 13 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine, a little bit lighter than the stub, with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, very nice shading, 19 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine does show some color variation, the medium shows none, but we got it in both of them. And Rhodia. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, a very nice shading, 8 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine, just a little lighter than the stub with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, great shading, 11 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both do show some color variation, although it looks much better in the writing. I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we're seeing a light brown at the bottom push its way. It's a line that got immediately into the paper. It does push its way very light. It moves up. We get an orange and then we get yellow at the very top of this. I'm looking at it, and you know what? When I look this up online, it says brown. I may just classify this as orange myself on my channel. The one on the right, I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. That brown line at the bottom is much more gathered, much more there, truly bonding with the filter paper very well. It moves up, we get the orange, and we get a bright yellow. This is where all that nice shading is coming from. Resistance tests are done to see how well this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it might be to clean from your pen. I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, the lowercase h has a little bit of blowout, but everything's very readable without any real problems. I would feel safe using this in a note-taking situation if I wanted to go back and highlight. Now, water is moving the orange and the yellow away, but really leaving a lot of that brown there. It's not doing a lot to get it off the paper. It didn't entirely get it out of the converter of my pen. It was just some clinging there. Pen flush is breaking it down quite a bit more on the paper. Pen flush is all that it took to get it out of my pen. It only took a second of it being there. It was there and gone quickly with the pen flush. Now the 1/3 bleach solution completely removed it from the paper, and I didn't need it to get it out of my pen. As far as viscosity or flow, for the inks I've tested, I've found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Callifolio's Yalumba, I hope I said that correct, has a viscosity of 1.73, making it a wet ink. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples, and for the inks I've tested, I found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Callifolio's Yalumba has an average dry time of 11 seconds, making it a fast drying ink. Instead of finding inks that look like Callifolio's Yalumba, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. So the problem is this a light brown or is this an orange? In either case, I chose a green to go with it. Robert Oster's Emerald. The second writing sample is done on P. Berger, Levenger, and Strathmore writing paper. Here we're looking at P. Berger paper. It's a French rules student grade paper. Plenty of bleed spots that do occur with the medium, not too bad with the extra fine. It does happen with the stub. They cause a lot of show through, but again, the extra fine is doing very well. The 1.1 has a ton of feathering all over it. No spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. The extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 2 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the stub, with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and no shade, 3 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both are showing no color variation, and we're not getting it in the writing. And Levenger paper. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub, with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, very nice shading, 3 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the stub, with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 5 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine shows good color variation, the medium shows none, and that's what happened in the writing. And Strathmore writing paper. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub, with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 1 second to dry. Medium is the same tone as the stub, with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and no shade, 4 seconds to dry. Now the scrubby of the extra fine shows some color variation, the medium shows none, but we really didn't get color variation in the writing, and that is all that I have for the writing samples. So what do I think of Callifolio's Yalumba? It's a red-leaning brown, and on a very white paper, you might have trouble convincing people that it is a brown and not a red ink. So it really kind of misses the mark for me. What nib and pen give the best writing experience with this ink? You need to use a very wet pen so that you can get a very nice brown. But interestingly, if you're writing on a cream colored paper, a medium flow pen will work perfectly fine to get a very pleasant brown. I put out a new ink review every single day, so that if you're not already subscribed, I'm going to remind you, go ahead and subscribe. Thanks for watching.